Hello, I'm Dr. Peter Murano, creator of the AMPK mTOR method, and I've put together a presentation here that will answer your questions about let's call it smart strength training as an older person after perhaps decades of sedentary life. Title of this presentation, you see it there, Strength Training for Older Adults. And we are going to talk about progression, consistency, and my AMPK mTOR method. But you see here on this next slide the words, why smart training is not just about lifting more. So today I want to clarify two ideas that are often misunderstood in the gym, and they are progression and consistency. Turns out that both matter, but as we age, they do not matter equally, I would say it that way. And we'll walk from behavior to biology to outcomes and tie, or at least try to tie everything back to the AMPK mTOR signaling system. And here we go, what progression means, what it is, and what it isn't. It's giving the body a reason to adapt over time, and this can include following strategies in the gym. You add slightly more weight over time, or you perform one or more additional repetitions over time, or you develop better control, better confidence. It's not really about pushing harder every workout. Progression means change over time that encourages something very important, adaptation. It doesn't have to mean heavier weights every week, not at all. It can be better control, it can be smoother reps, or improved confidence. And when I'm training individuals, I'm constantly looking at their form to make sure that it's proper. And if it needs any tweaking, that's where I come in as a trainer. When I train myself, it's very hard for me to see if my form is good. And you can use a mirror, of course, and that's, I guess, the next best thing. But a trainer can see everything and can suggest corrections on the fly, and that's really important. Now, I want to say that progression is a tool, and it works best when it's applied gradually and intelligently. Why progression is useful and why it matters. Well, progression signals muscles, bones, and nerves that work is still meaningful. It supports strength and function, and it helps prevent stagnation when used properly. And speaking about using it properly, when you do that, you tell the body that the stimulus is still worth responding to. And that's how strength and function are both preserved. The mistake is thinking that progression must happen constantly or aggressively. This is a big mistake as we age. So that's a little bit about progression. What about consistency? Consistency really is showing up for planned workouts week after week, even when sessions feel like they're ordinary, and even when loads don't change, when you're lifting and pushing and pulling the same weight load day after day when you train. That's okay. Consistency is more about not perfection or intensity, but regular exposure. And for those of us who are older, this is critical because tissues adapt best to predictable patterns, not to occasional heroic efforts in the gym. And that's something that I try to impress upon my clients who might be thinking that, well, this is the same workout that we did last time. Why? And the reason is because consistency matters more than intensity. All right, now that we've talked a little bit about consistency, I want to mention why it matters more. More than what? I would say more than progression. And consistency is so powerful with age because it builds tolerance in joints and connective tissue. That is so critical. And it improves recovery, improves our confidence. It prevents repeated starting over. And that's sometimes a real problem with folks. So irregular training is what that's all about, starting over because missing workouts or not committed truly to the workout process. But this kind of training forces the body to repeatedly reacclimate, and that increases things that we don't want to have happen: soreness, slow progress, and injury risk. So consistency addresses these, allowing the body to settle into a, stable baseline where adaptation can actually occur, which is, after all, the goal here. So I'm trying to make the point on the next slide why SMART training isn't just about progression. And I would say it this way, that if you're looking at a skilled strength trainer, they prioritize attendance in the gym before or in front of increasing the load that is being lifted. And they prioritize form before intensity. And they prioritize, or should, recovery before trying to achieve difficulty. So a SMART trainer, I'm saying, knows that progression is not the goal. It's a lever. Pushing progression without consistency and without recovery often will backfire, especially when we're older. And strength is built from repeated, well-tolerated signals over time. So we're going to have a little fun here. We're going to have a make-believe example using two cartoon characters here. They're going to be two men who are going to perform the same exercises. So there they are. You see them, George and Bill. But they're going to come up with different outcomes because of how they approach their training. So let me give you a few details about these two men. And it's George and Bill. They're both in their early 60s. They're training on mTOR days. They're using the same exercises and movements, but they achieve different results. And what differs is how their training rhythm interacts with their aging biology, actually. So it's not going to matter that they're similar physically, and in terms of their exercises, they're the same. And they probably have the same motivation. But let's just explore this a little bit further. Here we go. So what we're looking at first is George here. And we see that his pattern, he loves progression. But he's missing 4 or more sessions of training sessions per month. So this is sporadic training. He does push hard when he shows up, to his credit. He's enthusiastic and he wants to improve every session, but unfortunately, life gets in the way. And you see it there. He's busy. His training then is inconsistent, and every workout becomes a re-entry stress rather than a continuation. So next, we want to see how George's training rhythm interacts with his aging biology. So his mTOR is going to spike briefly, then disappear, essentially. There's no stable repair and then build system going on with George. There's high strain without continuity. So biologically, George is sending noisy signals. His mTOR is activating but doesn't have reinforcement. The body treats each workout as an isolated event. An older tissue responds conservatively to this type of training. It's going to prioritize damage control over growth. Now here's the other fellow, Bill, and we see that his pattern is moderate progression and high consistency. He does not miss scheduled mTOR days for working out. His loads stay roughly the same for weeks, though, if need be, but he focuses on showing up. He's not worried about progression so much. So his approach probably looks a bit boring on paper, but his consistency creates something very powerful, predictability. And this is important because his body comes to anticipate regular loading. And that's a key difference between Bill and George. Let's talk about Bill's biology. His mTOR is activated repeatedly rather than chaotically. His AMPK days truly support repair. and he has a clean stress to recover, to rebuild rhythm going on. And because Bill respects the weekly rhythm, AMPK and mTOR each do their jobs. And over time, small progressions are going to emerge naturally. His cells are going to learn that growth is safe and that it's going to happen repeatedly over time. And then they adapt. Now, this discussion holds true whether you're a man working out, older man, or an older woman. And you see the age difference of these two looking at the clock here, and that's a setup for the question, or the statement, I should say, why this all matters more with age. And the answer here is because aging changes the rules. There's reduced mTOR sensitivity with age. There's slower recovery, that's for sure, and there's a higher cost of mismatched signals. So younger bodies can tolerate erratic stress, is what I'm saying, whereas older bodies do not do so well. When rhythm is broken, AMPK dominates even on days meant for building, and this is going to blunt hypertrophy and increase injury risk. And the next slide is getting at the key concept of the AMPK-mTOR rhythm. And the point here is that the body adapts more to rhythm than it does to events. And consistency establishes the rhythm. What sharpens the signal is rhythm, and what enables adaptation are the signals. Okay, we move to the next slide titled The AMPK-mTOR Rhythm is the Periodization, and you see a kind of a middle-aged younger fellow having fun on his AMPK days and separating those from his mTOR days like he's supposed to. Now, what we just said on the previous slide, this is actually the core of the AMPK method. These pathways, they're expectations that we set up for the body, and the body adapts to what happens on a regular basis rather than sporadically. So that means for me as a strength training coach, I understand that long-term success with my clients is going to depend on both periodization and progression. Now, what we're calling periodization here refers to how training is organized over time, when the body is asked to work hard and when it is given space to recover. Progression, on the other hand, refers to how training gradually becomes more challenging. It increases, such as adding a small amount of weight, or doing an extra rep, or moving with better control. Now, both periodization and progression are important, but they serve different purposes. I think you can see that. When I train my clients using my method, the AMPK-mTOR rhythm itself is the periodization. So just to be clear, when I say the AMPK-mTOR rhythm is the periodization, I simply mean that this kind of training already has a built-in structure. Some days are designed to help your body repair, recover, and restore energy, and that's the AMPK days, while other days are designed to build strength and muscle. Those are the mTOR days. So that natural back and forth is what keeps your body adapting safely over time. You don't need complicated training phases or constant changes. Progression, then, sits gently on top of this rhythm. Instead of pushing harder every workout, we let small improvements happen only when your body is ready. Maybe a little more weight here, or an extra rep there, or better control. This approach is going to respect how the body changes with age and help you get stronger without feeling beaten down. So we want to think about what all this means in actual practice. Number one, you see it on the slide, be serious about training. Missing mTOR days is going to work against you. Number two, don't expect that you can make up missed sessions with excess load or a harder workout. That's not smart. Number three, let progression emerge from consistency and nothing else. So once rhythm is respected, progression becomes safer, more anabolic, easier, and more durable. The order is what matters. Yes, I'll say it again. The order matters. And by this, I mean the sequence in which you are applying physiological signals, whether it's within a single session or within a week or across weeks, because these determine very important things, such as whether adaptation is amplified or not, whether signals interfere with each other or not, whether recovery compounds or erodes, whether progression becomes safer or more fragile. So in short, your body doesn't just care what you do, it cares when you do it relative to other signals. So in terms of the AMPK mTOR method, your body adapts best when training days follow a logical weekly rhythm. Repair-focused days first, for instance, then strength-building days, and you can insert a real recovery day in between. When endurance, calorie stress, and strength are all mixed randomly across the week, like often happens, the body receives conflicting instructions and it's going to adapt poorly. So again, the order matters because repair prepares the body to build, and rest is what locks those gains in through adaptation. So progression again, it works when you build capacity before you increase demands, improving recovery, aerobic support, and tissue resilience. All of this before you add more weight, volume, or intensity. Those are the demands I'm referring to. And when progression is rushed or layered on top of inadequate recovery, guess what? The strength gains become fragile, and so do you, meaning injury risk increases. So the order matters, again, because adaptation must be earned in sequence rather than forced all at once. So the order matters because when the sequence is respected, progress will happen. It will feel smoother, and strength will arrive with less strain, and gains tend to stick rather than disappear. You move forward with confidence instead of constantly testing your limits. Okay, we made it to the last slide in one piece. So let me just repeat what it says here. Progression is refining the signal. Consistency creates it. Now, progression then still matters, but only after consistency is in place. If there's one message to remember from all of this, it's that consistency builds the biological rhythm that makes progression work. So thank you for joining me today. I'm Dr. Peter Murano, developer of the AMPK mTOR method. And if you'd like to know more about it, I invite you to visit my website. And you can also read my book titled Hard to Kill. Until next time, I wish you peace.